Ladies and gentlemen, we are live, and I am so excited to have none other than Mandy Branham on the show. Welcome, Mandy.
Thanks, Alex.
Thanks so much for coming here. You are actually a huge inspiration to me, so it's actually an honor whenever you come present. Mandy's actually a past presenter at GHAIN, so for those of you guys who are part of our network, you guys know that she still probably holds one of the best ranking sessions we've had.
It was fun. I would test myself to see if I could remember the names of the people in the circle. Probably not, but it was good.
No, I loved it. So very excited for you to share your knowledge, because obviously joint venture partnerships are huge, and I don't think anyone has done it that I know of as efficiently and as effectively as you, and at such a high scale. So I think that's going to be awesome. So quick introduction. I'd actually like to turn it over to you. If you could maybe tell the group a little bit about yourself and kind of what you've accomplished today.
Yeah. So I don't see anybody here. How many people are like, who's watching? I like being on this side of the coin.
Yeah, we got two viewers bouncing in and out. Usually It starts to ramp up. Yes. As we start to go. So
maybe we just need to take it a little slow. No, I'm just joking. You know what? Mandy Branham certainly didn't come into the title of joint venture queen for a little bit when I started. Larry and I, everybody kind of knows my backbone of my business is Larry. And we started off just renovating our own properties. And I remember going up to a mentor and being like, so how do I attract partners? And he sat back and he crossed his arms and he was like, just keep doing what you're doing. People are watching. And I was like, okay. And so, we had some people that are like, hey, the next deal you find, we'd like in. Hey, the next deal you find, we'd like in. And, there's sometimes a little difference between people that say, yeah, I want in. Was that I called them up 2 days later to be like, hey, I got that deal that you were looking for. And so we just continued to build. So 2016, we bought 16 properties. 17, we bought 16. 18, we bought 14. And then last year, 2019, I think we hit 20. So we've transacted on 88 properties in 6 years. We currently have a portfolio just under $30 million of a portfolio value. We retired Larry, or how about I say it this way? We transitioned Larry from JOB to a full-time income working with our construction company. We have an umbrella of companies now, so it kind of easily transitions from you're buying these houses and then you have to self-manage and you create a property management company, and then you're buying these houses and you need to renovate, so you might as well create a renovation company. So we've got this asset acquisition, renovation, and then transition it into property management. All along just refining and getting our systems better. So being able to offer superior property management, top-notch bookkeeping and accounting and tax preparation for our JVs. We really are, a hassle-free one-stop shop. Boom.
I love it. How's that for an introduction? And we've got actually, hey Nagesh, we've got a couple more viewers now. So now that you're on this side. And on that note, guys, for whoever's watching, Mandy also hosts her own show on a very successful Facebook group called the 7-Figure Real Estate Investor.
Yep.
Right? And then you've got another Facebook group as well, Driven Property Group, correct?
Yeah, that's our business page, is the Solutions Driven Property Group.
Yeah.
We're in Facebook lingo, but the page is where we really share a lot of the group is where we share a lot of up-to-date information. If you want to know about, what is an interest rate change going to be, and, is the CMHC really going to change their qualifications and stuff like that. It's up-to-date stuff that really does affect real estate investors.
100%. I'm a part of it and I love it. I check it out all the time. So definitely a wealth of information, folks. So I do, especially during this kind of weird time that we're going through with COVID, I thought I'd start the conversation off by talking about the impacts that you've had right now, especially from acquisitions and just in the investing world in general, not necessarily just in joint venture acquisitions, but that too.
Yeah.
So how you guys made out?
We've received 95% of our rents in April and May. the same 5% shitheads that weren't paying us before are the same shitheads that aren't paying us now. It's a little bit of a bone of contention, but you know what? It is what it is. Yeah. We are realizing that these large reserve funds that we happen just to accumulate with our joint venture partners, because that's just kind of the way that I do my business, are looking to be setting us up pretty good. We missed out on a couple deals very recently. I think your wife was kind of keeping us up to date. So things are still selling, but I'm not rushing. I'm like, it needs to be a deal of a deal. We're still closing on a couple of the deals that we had. We had some, I'm going to be ready to sell some in St. Catharines soon as the municipality opens. But we're just in preparation mode and just kind of, I'm definitely following Rain Canada. I think I saw you on this thing this weekend, really just kind of going like, where are we? What's going on? And making sure our cash positions are in good spots for us to be able to take action when it is. So I haven't bought anything during COVID. I mean, I've closed on, but those were negotiated pre-COVID. And so, Yep. So that's kind of, nothing too crazy, but I'm not jumping in anything unless it's like for sure going to be what I'm looking for.
This past week and a half, 2 weeks or so, I don't know what's been going on with the market here in Hamilton, especially, but it's like multiple offers galore again. Like we had a flip that we bought pre-COVID, and we thankfully started during COVID. Yes. So we had one contractor just kind of plugging away at it, and we listed it a week and a half ago. In 4 hours, we had 12 showings, and by the 6th hour, we had 2 offers, and we sold it over asking. It was just crazy. And now we've got actual like real estate clients out there who are looking for houses, and they'll give me a list of like 6 or 10 properties that they're interested in. By Monday morning, they're like half of them are gone. I don't know what's going on right now, but
if you say 1 week. My share that in my mind that's happened in the 1 week is that CMHC is dangling the carrot of removing the 5%. So I've got a cousin I kind of put out there looking for, I'm looking for a wholesale deal in the Guelph, Orangeville, Fergus kind of area. And they're so I did some calculations. I wanted to share these calculations because it's like an aha. Okay. Mm-hmm. So we were looking at a $400,000 house for them, first time home buyer. They would need at 5%, $20,000. Okay. Yep. They've got $30,000 saved, which is like, I told her, I'm like, I don't think you grasp, but that's amazeballs. Okay.
For sure.
So let's just say that CMHC changes down to 10%. They didn't buy at 400. They didn't get in. And let's just say that the market now drops because all of these first-time home buyers are now out of the market because they don't have the 10% saved, okay? And house prices drop. We're just going to be extreme. That same $400,000 house is now $350,000. They need $35,000 to get into a $50,000 less price house.
Yep.
So I said, I know this is going to sound crazy, but don't think that you're saving $50,000 by waiting for CMHC to change their rates. You should be still getting in at the higher rate, if this is even a higher rate, if the market doesn't drop. But for my scenario purposes, I really wanted her to feel that there's going to be a part of you that's like, well, but I want to save $50,000 on the house, but yet having to put a 10% minimum down payment down is really going to hurt a lot of people, 100%. In my opinion.
100%. It's actually it's quite the game changer. Actually, it's first-time home buyers better get moving. Do you think they're going to go through with
it? So we've switched. So that house sold over the weekend. 6 offers. I think it's conditional until Friday. So the agent's going to follow up on Friday or Friday morning to find out if they're close to removing conditions. But we're already looking at some more houses. But you want to talk about going further out and this ripple effect. So what does that show me? Well, these first-time home buyers are willing to drive. Larry, stop. He's setting up a new computer for me, and it's going to be a bother. These first-time home buyers are willing to drive 50 minutes to work, 50. Yeah. And so to me, what does that say for renters? Well, if the first-time home buyers are moving out and they're bringing with them need for grocery stores and the need for, better roads and systems in schools when they start to have their kids, then they're going to be needing rental properties around there. So all of a sudden, those tertiary markets aren't so tertiary anymore if people are really going to be taking action right now to be able to get into that first-time home.
What I also think is that this has really just highlighted how robust the Canadian banking system is too. And if you consider how strong that is, and now they've shut the borders down, so we've had a lack of outside capital coming in. Now all of a sudden, once they start opening the borders again, people are going to be coming in droves. And if you consider, people here in Canada are like Toronto, Vancouver, all these, we have on two hands you can name in all of Canada the massive metropolitan cities. But even Vancouver, which I would consider to be like the highest in all of Canada, it pales in comparison to like if you consider London, England, or Beijing, or some of these other markets. So if you guys think property values can't go up, you're in for a surprise, I think. So, and you're absolutely right. As we start to expand, as population increases, you're just going to have that ripple effect from all these places. So I think that's incredibly exciting, which actually brings us to my next topic, is actually joint venture partnerships. So before we even get into anything, there might be some people watching that don't even know what a joint venture is. So you want to explain it to us?
Yeah. So a joint venture where two people come together and they can do more together than they can on their own. So what does that relate to in the real estate market? Well, hey, I've got a great asset. I'm working with a great realtor team, and I have the contacts to be able to do the contracting, and I live close by, so I'm going to be able to oversee the property management. But darn, I don't have the money to be able to do it. Okay. Now the other side of the coin is, somebody that's like, wow, I have a house that's paid off, and I realize that real estate investing is something that I want to be doing, but where do I start? How do I find the properties? How do I even know who to hire for a contractor? So you got somebody with the money and the ability to be able to qualify, and somebody who has all the skills to be able to know how to put that money to work within the real estate industry. Boom, a marriage made in heaven, and
boom.
And they come together, and now you've got the property expert and the financial partner, and they each bring unique skills, unique things together to be able to create something that they couldn't have created on their own. Perfect description.
So what I always come to think about joint venture partnerships, and great description overall, but when it comes to the two sides of the coin, you have the money partner, and then you have the real estate expert.
Yeah.
Quite frankly, like, we do a lot of joint venture partnerships as well, but I want to be in the joint venture money partner side eventually, and that's the goal that we're all shooting for. So it's actually really funny, and this is going to tie in nicely with how we're attracting ourselves as potential real estate experts, and like when I consider the fact that the real golden nugget is to become the guy who's just signing the checks from my beach chair in Tahiti, and I've had our joint venture partnerships send me wire transfers over while they're on like a Europe vacation. It's actually a perfect thing. So you have become one of the most successful people in my mind of attracting joint venture partners, and I think that there's a key element there is an attraction, right? So tell us a little bit about how that happened, because I mean, you didn't just get into it and just boom, 16 properties in a year. No, you have to start with one. So tell us kind of how that progression happened, and how did you end up climbing each rung to really get to the point where you're bringing in a lot of volume with your art?
So, the 2014, we joined a coaching group. So we finally started to invest in ourselves. And I remember signing up for that coaching group. It was like $20,000 at the time. Okay. It was the most amount of money that I had invested in myself since my university days. And I'm starting to plant some seeds here, invest in yourself. It's when we started to really focus in on personal development, being able to be aware of, have you ever talked to somebody? I mean, I have a story, but I'm going to keep it to myself on social media right now. You're talking to somebody and it's not even registering. Like it's over their head, or they don't care. You're not even resonating with them, right? And it's like trying to talk to my dad during a hockey game. And if I want to get my dad's attention during a hockey game, I better say, hey, would you like some NHL dip with your chips as you watch the game? And then you can start to throw in a few little things that you want to say to him. You need to meet him at his level. So the point being that you have to work harder on yourself than you do on your job, which meant I needed to become a better listener, a better communicator. I needed to be able to relate to people. I started to understand wealth psychology. And the first time I heard about joint ventures, it was a teacher telling me that he partnered with another teacher and how brilliant she was for partnering with him. And in my head, like I could still remember exactly where I was standing in the house that we don't own anymore. And I was like, why the F would that lady give him money? Okay, like not even a comprehension in my mind why she would give him money. Okay, so I realized that I needed to be able to build up the reasons why somebody would even give me money. Why would they give me money? What were they investing in? What was it that house represented to them? Because most of the time, I mean, keep in mind, majority of my joint ventures don't ever step foot in the asset. So they're not they're investing in a property, but they're investing in me. So I need to build up my self-worth. And so over the years, as I was doing this personal development, 2015, we spent a ton of money. Early 2016, we went to UPW with Tony Robbins, Larry and I, some of the highest strung 4 days that we've ever, had together. And away we come. So that was early 2016. If that gives you any indication as to what I put into myself to be able to have the results that matched the effort that I was putting into myself. So
that's 4 years, ladies and gentlemen, 4 years.
4 years. And I don't stop. So, I mean, like 2017, I spent, $10,000 more on personal development. That's courses. It's not just real estate. That's like a coach. That's, a speaking coach. That's, just a lot of stuff to be able to make sure that my ticker is ticking and not getting stuck on some of these simple little things. So as much as I definitely did real estate, I definitely, personal development is huge.
So big ticket note here from Mandy, invest in yourself. I'm always preaching, go to these, networking events, don't hesitate to buy into courses. It's funny. I listened to a Grant Cardone thing the other day, and one of the guys asked him, he's like, I've got like $2,500 or something. Is the same one you saw? He's like, I got like $2,500. He's like, don't like save it, just invest it in yourself. That's all. That's all it's good for.
It was something like $237 or something.
Okay, something like that. Yeah,
it was so silly. And what did Grant say?
Yeah, just invest in yourself. That's all you can do, because you can't. There's no point in saving $237 or whatever the case may be. But it's so true. And I look at a lot of the really successful people that I see in the industry, like yourself, Loeffler, all these folks. Everyone had to dip into it, and it sucks. I bought into back in 2014. I was still working at Aecon, and I signed up with Fortune Builders at the time.
Okay,
and that was super scary because I didn't have any of it. I liquidated all my RSPs. I bought the rest on my Visa, and I was like, I can't tell my parents about this because they're going to murder me. So, but there I did. I went and they kept saying, they said, if you follow the systems, you do one deal and you'll make it back. And they were right. That's it. And the most important thing, invest in yourself. So I absolutely love that. So since 2016 now, obviously you've been building this plane as you've been flying it, right? It's not always been a bumpy or not a smooth sailing, I'm guessing. They say the success is like this, right? As it goes up, right? So tell us a little bit about some of your systems, because now you have a pretty robust kind of like business structure that you have. And I'd like to break that down a little bit. So first and foremost, when you're going and you're attracting joint ventures, let's talk about that part first. Where are you meeting these folks? What are you doing to actually go and start generating leads for these people? Networking.
So I talk about the readiness to buy scale. If anybody's kind of watched me do from 0 to 100, okay, just think of it as a speedometer. Mm-hmm. And when you're when somebody's not at all ready to buy, okay, this would be an example. You're chatting with somebody and they're just like, what? My mortgage is paid off. You're nuts if you think I'm ever putting another mortgage on my house. Why would I ever have another mortgage? They are 0% ready to buy, okay? Somebody who's like open to the idea, they might be like, well, my uncle had a couple rental properties. You know, I guess he's like my rich uncle, but, you know, I never really grasped what it was he was doing. You know, they might be open to the idea of finding out how rich uncle got rich, okay? Somebody who's 50% ready to buy would be somebody who's like, yeah, I have a HELOC on my house. I did that a few years ago, but, you know, I never could find a property. I never could connect to it. I didn't know how all that worked. But they've made a step to be able to say that they have an interest in investing in real estate. Somebody who's 75% ready to buy would be somebody you're meeting at a networking meeting, and they're at real estate. They're part of your coaching group. They know that they want real estate, but they're also realizing that their 4 kids and their practice that they own, their business that they own is taking up a heck of a lot more time than they really thought it would. But they definitely know they want real estate. And your 100% ready to buy person is the one that, you know, I had a lady called me up and she started to list her cash positions, her mortgage situations. And I was like, hi. And she said, oh, well, 2 years ago, Mandy, I told myself that if I didn't have any properties in 2 years, I was calling you up and I was investing. And here's my 2-year mark. So she was 100% ready to buy. She'd already chosen. She knew she couldn't do it on her own. She'd waited the time. She tried it. She knew she wanted real estate and she was 100% ready to buy. So if you're trying to talk to the wrong level of people and you're trying to convince your brother and sister-in-law who have no mortgage but are both teachers that they would be great qualifiers for an asset that you're looking to buy, you're going to be spending 80% of your time you should only be spending 20% of your time trying to convince people to get ready to buy real estate. You should be spending 80% of your time trying to convert those people who are 75 and 100% ready to buy. So where are those people? Networking meetings, people who are looking for different, investing ventures, mainly real estate groups. So you're kind of like, talking around. So that's where I find my joint ventures.
And good point on that. The people that are showing up to these investment networking groups already have expressed an interest. They're kind of like these floaters that are just kind of looking for someone to help them. And it's so true that so many of these people come to these networking events and they dream of real estate and they want to get into real estate, but they just don't know where to start. And that's where someone who has systems and someone like yourself who, has the proven results can get them there. It's funny. I had a presentation with one of my friends actually, and she's in investment banking. Funny enough, and she's an awesome girl. She's got she has a lot of money from a trust fund that she acquired at one point, and she was interested to kind of hear what we did, and so she had no idea that the process could even exist. That whole idea of buying a property, renovating it, and refinancing it. I had to kind of explain it to her, and she's like, "Oh my God, this can happen. This is legal." And I was like, "Yeah, we do it all the time. It's fantastic." So, and that's just one person, right? At the end of the day, if you're dealing with people that already know the process and are just not sure about the right steps to make because they don't want to make a poor decision, they're not sure about the market, they don't have the systems in place, joint venturing is the key.
One of my my ideal joint venture avatar, which maybe I can touch on this right now. So you also want to be able to know that who it is that you're looking to attract. If when I started out and I was the one doing all the work, and Larry was working 40 hours at his job and 40 hours at the property, we were attracting people who also wanted to be the working partners. So they wanted to learn from us. And then we only had one deal like that was like, okay, I'm taking No more working partners. We're not splitting the work here. I'm looking for passive partners. So I realized that I needed to refine who it was that I was attracting as a joint venture partner. So I do have a mantra. I attract millions in passive joint venture capital. I attract people who want a diversified investment portfolio, adding real estate as part of that, but passively. So who do you want to invest with? If you're a contractor, just really clarify who your ideal partner is and get down to their age, their financial status, the children that they've got, the vacations that they've got. So when I attracted my one JV partner, he says to me, Mandy, this is my first time. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, you've got so much wealth. Like I wasn't comprehending what he said. This is my first time. And he goes, this is my first time ever doing a mortgage. And I was like, huh?
Okay.
He'd never used financing, so he just pays cash for everything. He's a very well-off person and never believed in leverage. So he was coming on board with me to be able to say, let me see how this leverage thing works. And if you can prove it to me, I got a bunch of colleagues that'll be ready to be able to do the same. So it's, leverage isn't new, but if you're at a certain level of wealth, then maybe you don't need it. So how can you now convince somebody that a mortgage isn't a bad thing? So we create your ideal joint venture partner. If you're, there was a gentleman one time and he created like a medical advisory group, and all he did was partner with doctors. Because he was a doctor himself. It was his little niche, and he just wanted to be able to go be like, you go be the best optometrist and surgeon that you can, and let me be the real estate partner that you can partner with. And so his niche was that ideal joint venture partner being a doctor.
I love it. So I think the key takeaway is OPM there, folks, other people's money, and often training people to realize that it's okay to use other people's money. It's such a weird concept that, and I get why. For the average person, the goal is to buy a house, pay off your mortgage, live debt-free. It's fantastic. But this is an investment. We're not buying a personal residence. Do that for your personal residence. That's fine.
Yeah.
When you're buying a property, you want the leverage on that so that you can make the return. The goal is not to have your own money in it. And if there's money stuck in there, it just means it's not working, right?
And you know what, if it helps you, remember, I really get people to put their investor hats on. And only one gentleman did I ever see actually in his video, and he flipped over from his contractor hat and he literally put on his investor hat. And, we don't sign up for what's the interest rate. We don't sign up for how do I, find a mortgage and I don't have to pay any fees, because we go, how can this 100,000 make me 500,000? Like it's another thing Grant Cardone says that I certain things I pick up that I like of his. He says that people spend 95% of their time saying, how can I reduce my expenses? How can I turn my lights off? Can limit my kids to a 3-minute shower? Right? And only 5% of their time going, how do I make more money? So Grant flips that around and he goes, I spend 95% of my time going, how do I make more money? How do I take my money and leverage it? How do I leverage other people's money? How do I find a property, bring it up in value? How do I release that equity? Like, he's constantly asking himself, how do I make more money? Instead of limiting yourself to, here's the ceiling that I have of the money that I make, I better stay under this ceiling. He's like, blow the ceiling up. Let me figure out a way to be able to, make as much as I can.
And that, in a nutshell, is what makes you a good joint venture partner. When you're looking at the real estate partner side of things, once again, when I consider it, there's infinite amount of money out there. There's so much money out there. You talk about any person that has a mortgage paid off. You talk about anybody that has RSPs. What the rarity is someone like Mandy, who understands the process, understands that she can take that gold and make it into a lot more money. And we're not talking about small returns right here. So what would you say like an average return on investment is for one of your projects?
I don't like to scare people because I'm going to say that 80% of my JVs have all of their capital back in 3 years. So that becomes an infinite return after 3 years.
Owning a property, infinite return. It's actually like, once again, when I have these conversations, it's confusing to people. People don't understand that it's like, okay, so I'm going to have all my money back out and then we're going to own it together. And some people are like, oh, then I don't own it anymore. No, it's like, no, we own it together still.
Yeah.
But you just don't have any money in it. You get all your money back out.
And then they're like, but what about the equity? And I was like, well, that just sits there. Well, where does it sit? Well, it just sits there. Like it's just in your head. It sits there. So then on that note, one way that people can, so, you know, Alex, I love this conversation for two reasons. I want two types of people to be able to distinguish who they are here. Are you somebody who's like, shit, if I'm going to partner with somebody, I need them to be like an Alex or a Mandy, okay? Because there's lots of us out there. But they're, you know, I want the financial partners to be able to have a checklist as to what it is that they're looking for to be able to pick a really good joint venture partner. Then on the other flip side, I want people who are like, I want to be like Mandy and Alex to be like, hey, if these are the things that they're doing and how they're talking to their clients, their potential joint ventures, these are things that I need to be doing too. So one of the things that I talk to my financial partners about is to where's your net worth statement? Have you monitored your net worth statement? So when I'm trying to show them that they've got no money left in the deal, that they'll have cash back in their bank account or paid off on a HELOC, but they still maintain this asset and they still have this equity, it's kind of hard to conceptualize. Put it on a net worth statement. Put it on a net worth statement. And as much as we all know the game of cash flow, I got a little inside secret here because sometimes I'm such a simple person. I took that cash.
I did the same thing. No, I put it like on Excel, the exact same thing. I'm not kidding you. Like to a T. That is hilarious.
Yeah, because I was I don't know where else do I find a net worth statement. I was like, well, I played with one on this game, so I created my net worth statement, and I got my cash from my jobs, and then cash from properties, and literally on the other side was like, can we get out of the rat race by having all of this cash flow from our properties to be able to pay our monthly expenses? And that was how we distinguished that it was ready. We were okay to let Larry leave his job to come into our house because we had enough cash from our passive income to cover our monthly costs. That
is so funny. I thought I was the only nerd who would do something like that. So thank you for bailing me out here, Mandy.
Well, and that's the point. We don't have to overthink this.
I know.
Spreadsheets, but you need to be able to conceptualize. So we raised our net worth. When we started, we were just under 300,000, around 300,000, we'll say. So that was, 2014 when we did our first net worth statement. We're just over 4 million right now. So fantastic. It's growing. And here's the other thing. As you continue to grow, you don't ask somebody, hey, Alex, how much was on your T4 this year? Nobody asks Warren Buffett what's on his T4 statement or an American version of it. Nobody gives a shit how much they make every year. They care about what their value is. And that's what you're really trying to share with your JV partners is you're going to still own this $500,000 asset, and the liability is the asset's worth 5. The liability is worth 4. Your net worth just went up. Well, you can divide it in half, be able to say, well, we only own 50% of that. But your net worth just went up by $50,000, right? So there's just a way for them to be able to conceptualize what some of this stuff means.
And at such a quick rate too, when you're paying down your property in such droves, we're finding that there's incredible appreciation in the markets that we're investing in. I mean, it just for us too, we've Kaylee and I just turned 31. Well, we're turning 32 soon. She's a little bit earlier than me, just to note that, by the way. Same thing with us. We started really focusing on the joint venture partnerships the past 3 years, and we've managed to accumulate just under 1.7, right? Yeah. And our joint venture partners that we're dealing with, some of these people are getting into retirement and stuff, and so now they're utilizing the assets that we're buying to give them income for when they're retired. It's an awesome, I don't know, it's just the gift that keeps on giving.
I like it. One more thing right on that, because I think that's really important, is when you're talking to these people, have you ever talked to somebody and you're like, are they really listening to what it is I'm saying? Remember, we kind of talked about that a little bit.
Yep.
So one of the things that when I became a better listener, how that converts to how I became a great joint venture partner is instead of entering a conversation with, oh my gosh, I need money and I really want to do this great flip and I found a really great flip. Do you want to come in and make money with me? Okay. Nothing about that is to have asked the investor some questions, find out what it is they're looking for in an asset to even make sure that they're going to be a match to what it is you want. So I have an asset that it fills my heart, okay? That I chatted with this couple. They've got a disabled son, and they were going to buy it. The asset we bought was for their son's retirement, okay? We're not looking at cash flow. We're not looking at sexiness of this property. How fast can we get out their money?
Mm-hmm.
I looked, when I went shopping for that asset, I was like, what's going to be around in 45 years? My criteria changed when I knew what the point of their asset was. So I really am sharing with people to be able to make sure that they're listening to what their joint venture partners are looking for. You probably had somebody that's like, oh, I'm a little nervous. Well, don't bring them a big flip that's going to, take all this energy and whatnot. Because you're really not listening to their vibes. They're looking for something that, is going to be rented to a solid place. You probably found somebody that's like, I don't want to rent to students. They kind of scare me. I'm not sure if I could handle that. Well, then don't bring them a student rental. Well, but
yep.
Mandy, my strategy is student rentals. Well, then obviously that JV is not for you, or you're going to try and make like a square investor try and meet your circle, and they're not going to go together. So something's not going to match there.
Absolutely. So we're going through the same thing with people that are looking for higher cash flow, or they don't necessarily care, and they're just looking for long-term appreciation gain, and they want their equity back out. So it's kind of cool that some of the strategies are even that they would like to come in as the mortgagee at some point and then start pocketing some of the money when they can't qualify anymore for future mortgages.
Yeah.
Which is such a cool strategy if you think of it, and they're really setting themselves up for a prosperous retirement. Because Christ, if anyone here listening has checked out what your pension is going to pay out, just brace yourself, brace yourself.
Yeah.
So moving on with the systems. So you found a joint venture partner. You think that they're going to be a good jive. They're going to be a good fit for who you want to work with. Tell us a little bit about how you bring them on. Are you guys creating a joint bank account, or do you kind of have a bank account that within your stream of bank accounts that you just kind of give them viewership access to? What does that look like?
Yeah. So my bank account system really looks kind of crazy. I definitely have, unless it's a joint venture partner that has 2 or 3 properties together, we have a bank account for each one. We call it a property bank account. Mm-hmm. So it does become a bit of a logistical nightmare, but it's actually heaven for my bookkeeper. So I kind of took the lesser of 2 evils, and this is the way that I've gone.
So do you have a stack of debit cards like this high?
Yes. Yes. And every time I walk into CIBC, the lady, there's 4 cards. She's like, I don't know how you keep all that stuff straight. And I was like, don't worry about it. I got it. It's all up here. And my husband knows, and it's written down in one place. So the drop dead Mandy method is in full effect there.
When I was in elementary school, I used to collect Pokemon cards, and you'd have those binders with all the cards on it, and you could find the holographics. Is that how you line up your debit cards?
No, strangely enough, I know the last 2 digits of every card, and I know every property that's on each card.
That's freaky.
It is.
Good actually. On you.
So part of the hey, so there's 2 ways that I connect with my joint venture partners. A, I have a deal and they just come straight on. We do a name change amendment and we start the ball rolling. The other way is to be able to say, hey, what you're looking for, I don't have right now, but we sign a letter of intent. And that letter of intent pretty much says, you're going to hold your money in your mortgage space for me for 90 days to go and shop for a property like we've discussed. And I'm going to go shopping for 90 days. If at the end of 90 days, I haven't found what it is you're looking for, you can go Like, it's not binding to anybody. I don't take any money for that, me, myself. Although the next level would be to be able to put, $10,000 for a deposit for a property in a trust account with my lawyer, but we haven't gone there. So that would be the letter of intent if you needed one. If you have a deal at hand and you're interviewing people, then you could, pretty much go straight into the name change amendment, get that flipped over. After that, so my typical introduction email to a joint venture partner would be like, hey, congratulations. Thanks for coming on board. I'm really excited about this property. I'm going to need to know your address. I'm going to need to know which lawyer you're going to use. I'm going to send over the purchase and sale agreement, any leases that the mortgage specialists are going to need. The mortgage specialist already knows to connect with me, anything property related. I always say to my partners, I'm not looking at your T4s. I don't get into all of that. That's why we have a mortgage specialist. But what I am going to be involved in is being able to share with them what we're buying the asset, what the value of the asset is, the amount of renovations, the timelines for those renovations, the kind of product we're going to go in. So I really get deep into the strategy of the type of product, be able to make sure that it matches the strategy for the asset. Then I say, okay, I just need your TD branch that's closest to you. Watch for an insurance application because that's going to come. And hold on, this is going to be a bumpy ride until we close, and then the rest is up to me. Yep. So it is a lot of work for a financial partner. I definitely feel that the value of their 50% is in the qualification space. It takes a lot. So, I mean, a preliminary discussion. Actually, I just had a gentleman got off the phone with you, and off the phone with him to come on here. And I'm doing an intro to the mortgage broker. So, he's not ready to sign a letter of commitment because he doesn't know where he stands for his next mortgage. So we just don't want that to hold up the process. I like somebody who's ready to go. That's my 75% at least. I need somebody to be like, where do you stand? What qualifications do you have? So we know where we can go shopping to be able to maximize the capital. So that's pretty much my introductory letter to a new joint venture once we've kind of committed to for sure working together.
Oh, I love it. And so at the time where you're finding the properties, do you typically, do you close on the properties pre-partner?
No.
No. Perfect.
No. Now I might remove conditions. So Gary McGowan, a lovely mentor of mine, good friend of Mark Loeffler's, he used to say he asked himself 3 questions. Sorry, guys, I cut my finger the other day. That's why it looks scary. He asked himself 3 questions. How do I buy this property? How do I change and add value? And how do I sell it? What's my exit strategy? So stay on number 1. How do I buy this property? Well, that's where I really was like, if it's a deal that I want to do, I'm going to buy it. Okay. Yep. Well, how do I buy it? Can I, we'll start at the top. The best way to be able to buy it is traditional A lender with my own down payment. If I can't do that, can I do a B lender? Can I go to a private mortgage? Can I negotiate a VTB? One of the options for me to buy that property is a joint venture. So the psychology on that is that a lot of new joint venture partners just say, I've got this great joint venture asset. Well, but how else would you close on this if you didn't have a joint venture? Well, no. Well, then, a joint venture partner can feel that. Have you ever realized that? The second that I had a deal that I was like, oh my God, this is a home run and I want it. It sold in a heart. Like I could have sold it 3 times over. And I realized how fast people were acting. I was like, whoa. And I needed to kind of come back a little bit and reevaluate the deal. So when the deal was so good, people will act on it, no problem. But you will also act on it. So that particular deal, I went over to my brother. I told him to have a couple drinks. And I said, I'm bringing you a deal and it's so good that I'm not walking away until you come in on it. And we got 100% of his money back. Actually, I think they kind of say there might be $2,500 outstanding that we owe them in 3.5 months.
That's awesome.
Hence why other investors were. So the more convicted you are about how good your asset is, the easier you're going to connect with a partner for sure. I had another thing that I wanted to say. Oh, and this is just kind of as you evolve as a joint venture partner, people are also kind of watching you. So yeah, it's fun for you to be the guy that does the renovations, and it's fun for you to be, the girl that does all the bookkeeping, or I don't even mean it that way. Like, we can do all, like, you can be the renovator, you can be the bookkeeper. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. But the second that you a joint venture partner and you're wanting to attract bigger amounts of money or more sophisticated partners, you also need to be more sophisticated. So if you think that you're like, this one guy was like, look at me, I'm attracting joint ventures and I'm shoveling the driveways of all of my 2 properties. I was like, cool, because you all have to start someplace, but acknowledge that if you want to grow to the next level, one of the first things you can hire out is snow and grass. Don't clean the unit anymore, hire a cleaner. So you kind of become a little bit more sophisticated, and then you go to the next level. So maybe you're doing your own property management, and so I'd call those my $10, $100, and my $1,000 hour activities. And as you continue to grow in your joint venture self, your real estate expert, it's okay to be able to say, I used to clean, but I don't anymore. I used to manage, but I don't anymore. I now strictly spend time finding and negotiating the best deal. That's the joint venture partner I want to be able to partner with. I don't want somebody who's stuck in a toilet. Now, I will probably take a chance on somebody who is just starting out. What do they say? I bet on the jockey, not the horse.
Yeah.
Okay. So you have to be able to see the jockey. You have to be able to realize who your joint venture partner is buying, and they're buying you. They're buying the whole package, but don't think that they're buying it because you just saved $100 because you didn't hire somebody to do your snow last year.
Well, I was just going to say, we're talking about joint venture attraction here. It's not going and pitching to joint ventures. And when you're attracting people, you attract them based on your self-worth and your own confidence. And when you are so sure about what you do, you exude that confidence, and people can't help it because it's like a magnet. It attracts. It's the law of attraction. It works very, very simply, is that you have to believe in that process. You have to believe in yourself, and you have to believe that you're worth more. Yeah. For me, it was actually a bit of a stepping stone there, getting into higher caliber multifamily. So I wasn't actually comfortable borrowing someone else's money to go buy an 8-plex. So me and another investor friend of mine, we went in on it together. I learned the systems and the process, and I was like, oh shit, this is actually pretty straightforward. And now it's like, now I can actually confidently go and talk to people about it, and it's actually gives me the confidence to attract these people, and it works so simply. And I never understand it. It's so funny how you're speaking about it, because I think you brought it up too, that you see these people at these networking events, and I love the idea where they're like, okay, they give everybody 15 seconds to come up on stage and talk about what they want. You get this one person who it's like their first time being there, but their neighbor wants to sell and they want to buy the house, and it's so exciting. And they're like, I need $500,000. I have the best deal. I need $500,000. So come find me. I'll be over in the corner there. And like, you wonder, it's like, nobody really goes over there. It just doesn't quite work that way. You have to attract it, and you have to do that. It's a process. So
yep. I just analyzed a deal for somebody. They sent it to me, and I always say, if you're going to pitch a deal, I want to put a good name out there for joint ventures. So I'd rather be able to look at your deal. Trust me, it's not all butterflies and roses, my comments back. So you kind of have to be able to go like, okay, that's what Mandy would say. That's what Mandy looks at. So I sent this deal review back to them, and it worked out that if a financial partner were to have come in, that it would have been a 1.6% cash on cash return. And not that but it was only a 13% return total. So it was like 6.5%. And I was like, don't get me wrong. I hear your deal and I see your deal, but you've not really looked at this to be able to say, is this even a deal that a joint venture would want to come in on? Granted, you want to buy it. It's, a property in Quebec and away you go, but it would not have been something that I would have advised anybody if they would have said, hey, Mandy, would you invest in this deal? My answer would have been no. No, it's not. You can go do private lending. You can do a variety of other things. There wasn't enough upside in this. And so I really want the Mandys and the Alexes to be able to put yourself into the shoes of the investors and say, would I invest in this if I was being pitched this deal? And if it's a hell yes, then you know that you're looking for a hell yes. You're good to go.
Yeah.
Not all deals. So I think that's really something else to really clarify to people is that, I'll say no to a deal because I'm the joint venture queen. There's deals that don't work for joint ventures. Mm-hmm. Now, that does not mean that it doesn't work for somebody who has a house that's paid off and they're going to buy this house with a HELOC and they're not going to, like all these, there's a variety of factors. Maybe it's a flipper. Maybe somebody wants to JV on a flip. I don't JV on flips. So, not all deals meet the criteria of what it is you're looking for. A really strategic investor the other day said, for every 50 deals that comes across her table, she says yes to one. And I was like, okay, I get it. So you really have to know, don't chase the shiny object. Don't chase, just because it works for Mandy, it means that it works for me. No, just because it's a sixplex that's for sale does not mean that it's going to work for a joint venture property. So just get really, really.
I joint ventured on a flip once, and we made I gave away half the profits of it, and it was a learning lesson, a very expensive one, but they turned out to be joint ventures for life, so it didn't end up being a bad deal at the end of it all. But
right.
But we run the same thing.
Yeah. So even Alex, if you were to just talk to contractors right now, young contractors, young Scott McGilvarys that say, but I can do it all, Mandy. I can do the renovations. I say, this is the difference that people don't get. You don't have to work for free to get half of the profits as a contractor. You have, and then I put myself in there. Okay. So if I wanted to do a flip and I need to hire a contractor because I don't know how to do all of that stuff. So the financial partner comes in, we're splitting the profits, and we still have to pay the contractor no matter what. Well, people go, well, but Mandy, but I am the contractor. I'm like, listen to my story, pay the contractor. Well, who is the contractor? The contractor happens to be you, but this is the hat situation. When you're talking to the investor, you're talking to them as the investor. This is how we would split profits. This is the cost to the renovator. This is the cost of the contractor, whatever, okay? Mm-hmm. And then you go and you pay the contractor because you are the contractor. Pay yourself to do the work.
For sure.
And that's just like mind-blowing to some people. But just keep in mind, just because you can do that doesn't mean you have to do it for free for a joint venture.
Mm-hmm.
So
absolutely. When I'm thinking about joint ventures, like I made a strict rule because when I was first starting, I bought a dinky little house on the Hamilton Mountain and I was working on it day and night. Then I did it again, and then again, and then I gained some capital. But part of my coaching, I remember at the time my coach said, I'm going to give you one rule and you have to stick by it. You're not allowed to touch a hammer. Never again. And so all of a sudden I'm sitting there, I'm like, well, this is what I knew, right? And it was a big mindset shift, but the reality of it is that our value comes from finding the deals. Our value comes from creating returns and creating wealth for our partners. It doesn't come from being the contractor. Now, to your point, if you are the contractor and you're starting out, then yes, pay yourself because you have value and you need to appreciate that value. And as much as it might be uncomfortable because you're trying to sell a deal and you're kind of desperate for that money, I think you actually go farther by being confident in knowing that you deserve that money because you can't work for free.
No, that's the other thing, right? So if a contractor broke it down, that deal that you gave away half the profits, maybe you did all the work, maybe that was one of the ones you didn't raise a hammer. But, if you work it out and go, ooh, I'm going to get half the profits. Let's say you make $100,000 because that would be a great flip these days. So you make 50,000, but it took you a year. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what you would have got paid if you just went and worked at a job. So your profit is now your payment, except you didn't get paid this whole time. So you were struggling and it wasn't comfortable and your house wasn't in good standing order, all for you to make half the profit. So it doesn't have to be that way. I would rather have profit of $60,000 and pay my contractor that 40, which means that you're splitting 60 grand, so 30 each instead of 50, but that you as the contractor got paid and kept your head above water. Part of the stuff that we do, and I know you do it, is like I do a lot of counseling with people. I do a lot of like psychological, yes, we're at the end of the renovation. Yes, you have $250,000 owing on your HELOC. Yes, there's no income coming in. And so there's a lot of financial emotions that are kind of going on. So which is another reason why I continue to do my personal development. I, raise my wealth awareness so that I can help these people get grounded and not be so fearful of, yes, this is part of the process. Yes, we're right about a refi. Yes, tenants are moving in the next 30 days. But, just kind of hold on. It's probably potentially the most amount of money that people have ever owed. Somebody saw my bank account one time. Not that I don't hide a lot, because I think, again, if I can help raise people's wealth awareness. So she's like, oh my God, my husband would never sleep if he saw that. And it was like, my mortgage statements at the bottom of the bank account. And it was like $2 million that we owed in mortgages. Right. And I was like, oh, that 2 million. Oh, it's because I own $3 million worth of assets and the tenants are paying the mortgage. Right. It was like, and you just kind of go, oh, that makes sense. But if you don't know about the 3 million, or you forget about the asset, you forget about the fact that the tenants are the ones paying the mortgage, then yes, you could be like, oh my God, you owe $2 million. So you've got to be able to talk to your partners and get their wealth psychology balanced out at certain points in the renovation. Certain points in the purchase are definitely going to be harder than others. So if you can't balance your own emotions around wealth, you're going to be on double duty to try and balance your own and financial partners.
That's an awesome point. Awesome point. You're right. It's a big financial commitment, especially at the front end. For me, what I always have to say is, like, you might be putting this up at the front end, but remember, we have a mutual goal. And I don't know about you, but our policy is that I technically don't get the profit from the equity until the joint venture partner gets all their money back out. So I'm incentivized to do a really good job for you because I want to start to make some money on this deal, right?
The better I can do for you, the better I do for me. So trust me, I want to do good for you, but I really have a back end purpose of doing really well for me. It's
actually such a perfect marriage, because the harder we work, the better it is for the other partner, which is, I think that's how business should be run. So anyway, I think that's fantastic. So I know we're kind of getting into our time limit here, but I feel like I could talk to you all night.
I know.
We should break up with a bottle of wine or something next time, But I did want to talk to you a little bit about, is now the right time? So, we're hearing a lot from people that, COVID's going to change the way, real estate's happening, or the market's going to crumble. I think I've seen a couple of the Facebook threads where people are just doom and gloom, and some people are like advocates of real estate, and all of a sudden have like mind has warped. I don't know what's going on, but I'd love to hear your opinion, and maybe just leave our listeners off with something. What is your thought process around what the future has in store here?
So I started off investing in my backyard here in Midland. And I haven't closed on a deal in over a year in Midland. So you're thinking, well, but Mandy, you did 20 deals in 2019. Yeah, I did one in Midland. So my share is to be able to, if it worked yesterday, but it doesn't work today, that's okay. It doesn't define who you are. Well, you did flips before, but you're really hesitant on flips right now because you're not sure of the end market. You're not sure of materials and supply chain. You're not sure of buyers, who's going to be around to buy that property, possibly, right? It's okay to pivot. Like, I think that, if you are so stuck to, this is my definition of who I am and the type of property that I bought, and you're trying to, again, fit that round property into a square hole, don't make it. Don't do that. Take some time. Take a breath, make sure, these tertiary markets, they're not going to be so bad anymore. If the numbers don't work in Hamilton, don't buy in Hamilton. Like, don't find yourself in uncomfortable bidding wars.
Yeah.
I think my final piece of advice is this is so unemotional. So the second that you can kind of like, I look at it as it's like leveling up. Okay. So I'll say to, a lot of my new JV partners, I'm like, I might not be coming across super excited right now, but that's just me and how strategic I am in my investments. Okay. That doesn't mean that I don't want you to be excited, because I want you to be super excited, because congratulations. Like, this is a great step for you to continue to build your wealth. But I just want you to understand that I'm very strategic about my purchases. And, like, I got off the phone with a JV today and she's like, Mandy, you remind me, you calm me, you ground me. And I'm just like, that's what I have. I just, somebody said, don't sugarcoat this, Mandy. And I was like, oh, I ain't sugarcoating anything. Like, my best case scenario on an ARV is this. And my worst case scenario that I can get with my eyes closed is this. That's what I'm telling you we can get. Anything above that is just icing on the cake.
Just gravy.
Don't be, it's okay to pivot right now. It's okay to take a break. If you're somebody, if this was me in 2016 and I was like competing with investors, I felt, to be able to get the next deal and the next deal, my share with you is that, just make sure that you're just sticking true to your authentic, strategic investor self, and don't get caught up in something that you're going to regret.
Wise words from none other than the JV queen herself, Mandy Branham. Well, I love it. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. I always have such a good time chatting with you. And please wish Larry all the best. I hope his stock trading is going well.
Yes,
Very
it is.
good.
You know what, Alex, I have to tell you, this has been one of the highest level joint venture conversations I've had in a long, long time. So
I'm happy to hear that.
We need to be able to make sure that anybody that's looking at this listens to this. This is like, there are times maybe it's too short, or maybe I'm the one doing not as much of the talking, but this was pretty killer. So thank you.
No, thank you. It's a wealth of information. I think it's difficult sometimes for people to understand the whole picture. And how many real estate investment books have you read? Hundreds, probably. Let's just say.
I don't. I'm not that way. Probably.
Maybe audios. Audios.
Not on real estate investment. I probably listen to more podcasts. Now, I'm really picky about my podcasts too. Remember.
The point I'm trying to make, though, is that in most real estate investing books, the first 2 chapters are about mindset.
Yes.
The beginning of any of these investment type books are all about getting your head wrapped around it, and then you can find the process. And the process is just a process. It's a system. People have different torques to the system, but even between you and I, you're saying that you do one thing in your joint venture process. I'm sitting here nodding, and then I say I do something, and you're like, oh yeah, I do the same thing. It's not that different. What separates, I think, the successful joint venture real estate partner that is the real estate expert from the non is the people who have the first 2 chapters down pat. And I think that for those people that maybe are like, oh, here I go about this, kumbaya crap about, trying to figure it out, like belief and all that stuff. I know sometimes it's hard to understand that, but there's in Keller Williams, they I don't know if they coined it, but they came from somewhere. It's be, do, have. First, you have to become, and then you have to do what the person who you've become does to have what that person has. And a lot of people have a doobie instead, right? They do it completely backwards. So
you know what? So, I'm gonna echo on that, but I think where I saved myself from your question of real estate book. I read 80% of personal development books and only 20% books on real estate, because, let's remove real estate out of that. You want to be a business owner and you want to be the best business owner, you need to read 80% of the books on how to become the best business owner. And the rest just comes. We just launched a new business. It's called Go Fog It, 100 natural percent.
I saw that. You're part of that?
Yes.
Oh my God, that's awesome! Congratulations.
Just launched Central Ontario, and but the point being that you have the confidence, you've got the clarity. You know, I don't enter in myself as this, you know, high level, you know, business expert, but because I done the personal development, you just remove real estate and add in a business, a GoFogget, an insurance company. You want to be a mortgage broker, you need to read. You need to become the best version of yourself, and the rest of it just naturally happens.
Yeah, well, you can hear it in how you speak too. It's a very different conversation over just the nuts and bolts of it, right? It's the philosophy behind it, which is actually very interesting to me. So once again, without further ado, thank you so much, Mandy. All the best to you guys, and appreciate you being on the show with us.
Thank you, Alex. That was lovely.